Captain Jake Martinez stared out the window of his ship, the USS Horizon, as they approached the massive space station called Kepler-7. He had been flying through space for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this before. The station was huge, shaped like a giant wheel spinning slowly in the darkness. Lights flickered along its surface like stars. "Captain, we're getting a message from the station," said Lieutenant Amy Parker from her seat at the communications desk. Her voice was excited but nervous. "They're speaking in perfect English." Jake raised his eyebrows. "That's impossible. We've never been here before." "Sir, I think they learned our language from our radio signals," Amy said. "They've been listening to us for a long time." Jake nodded slowly. This was it. After 300 years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they were about to meet other intelligent life forms. His hands were sweating as he grabbed the microphone. "This is Captain Jake Martinez of the Earth ship USS Horizon. We come in peace," he said, feeling a bit silly using such old words. The reply came quickly. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We are the Zephyrian Alliance. We have been waiting to meet you. Please dock at Bay 7. 2 hours later, Jake found himself walking through the strangest hallway he had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of blue metal that seemed to glow. Softly, the air smelled like flowers, but not any flowers from Earth. Beside him walked Ambassador Lisa Johnson, a tall woman with gray hair who had been chosen to speak for all of humanity. Behind them came Dr. Kevin Walsh, a scientist who studied life, forms. "Remember," Lisa whispered as they walked, "we don't know anything about their culture. Be polite, but don't agree to anything without thinking first." They entered a large round room with a high ceiling. Jake's mouth dropped open. There were 12 different types of alien beings sitting around a curved table. Some looked almost human but with blue skin and 4 arms. Others were tall and thin like trees with bark-like skin. One group looked like giant insects with shiny shells. Another species appeared to be made of living crystal that sparkled in the light. The one, who seemed to be the leader, stood up. He looked mostly human but was much taller, with silver skin and large black eyes. When he spoke, his voice was deep and musical. "I am Elder Zefka of the Zephyrian people. We speak for the Alliance of 12 Worlds. We welcome you to our family of civilized species." Lisa stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am Ambassador Lisa Johnson. I represent the people of Earth. We are honored to meet you." Elder Zefka smiled, showing teeth that were perfectly white and pointed. "We have prepared a gift for you, as is our custom when welcoming new friends." He gestured to another Zephyrian, who brought forward a small box made of the same blue metal as the walls. "This is very special," Elder Zefka said as he opened the box. Inside was a crystal about the size of a baseball, but it seemed to contain swirling lights like a tiny galaxy. "This is a memorial crystal. It contains the name of every person who has died in our alliance in the past 1,000 years. We consider it our most sacred treasure." Lisa took the crystal carefully. It was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "This is beautiful. How many names does it contain?" 847,612,903, Elder Zefka said proudly. "Each name represents a life that contributed to our civilization. We remember them all." Dr. Walsh leaned forward, his scientific mind working. "That's interesting. What's the total population of your alliance?" "Currently, we have 2,400,000,000 citizens across our 12 worlds," another alien answered. This one looked like a walking tree with silver leaves. Jake did some quick math in his head and felt confused. "So in 1,000 years, less than half your population has died?" The aliens looked at each other with what seemed like surprise. Elder Zefka tilted his head. "Of course, death is rare among civilized peoples. Why do you ask?" Lisa and Dr. Walsh exchanged glances. Lisa cleared her throat. "Well, it's just that on Earth things are different." "How different?" asked a crystal-like being whose voice sounded like wind chimes. Dr. Walsh pulled out his tablet computer. "In the past 100 years alone, over 15 billion humans have died on Earth. The room fell completely silent. Jake could hear the hum of the space station's machines and his own heartbeat. Every alien eye was staring at the three humans. Elder Zefka's face went pale, which was strange to see on someone with silver skin. 15 billion? In 100 years? Yes, Lisa said slowly. And our current population is only about 12 billion. That's impossible, whispered the tree-like alien. How can more people die than are alive? Dr. Walsh looked at his tablet again. Actually, if we count all recorded deaths in human history, we have documented over 200 billion deaths. We've been keeping records for about 6,000 years. One of the insect-like aliens made a sound like a tea kettle whistling. Several others backed away from the table. Elder Zefka sat down heavily in his chair. 200 billion deaths, he repeated slowly. But your population is only 12 billion. That's correct, Lisa said, starting to realize that something was very wrong with this conversation. Elder Zefka looked around at his fellow aliens, then back at the humans. His black eyes were wide with what looked like fear. What kind of world do you come from? Are you some kind of undead species? Do you die and come back to life? Jake felt his stomach drop. This wasn't going the way any of them had hoped. No, we're not undead. We're just human. Then how? Elder Zefka asked in a shaking voice. How can you have 20 times more deaths than living people? The three humans looked at each other, finally understanding that they had stumbled into something much bigger than a simple first contact. They were about to learn just how different humanity was from the rest of the galaxy. 3 days had passed since the meeting at Kepler 7 station. Admiral Susan Clark sat in her office on Earth's largest space station, Luna Base, reading the most disturbing message she had ever received. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she couldn't stop reading the same words over and over. The Galactic Council requests the immediate appearance of Earth's senior representative to address charges of being a threat to galactic peace and safety. Her assistant, Lieutenant Mike Foster, knocked on her door. Admiral, the transport ship is ready. Counselor Ryan Adams is already on board. Susan stood up slowly. She was 55 years old and had been in space for 30 years, but she had never felt this tired. Mike, do you think we made a mistake making contact? No, ma'am, Mike said firmly. We had to know we weren't alone. We just didn't expect this. The flight to Haven Prime took 6 days. Haven Prime was a beautiful world with purple skies and 3 moons. It was chosen as the neutral meeting place for all alien species because no one group controlled it. The planet's capital city looked like something from a dream, with buildings that seemed to grow from the ground like trees and bridges made of light connecting them. Counselor Ryan Adams was a thin man with careful eyes who had spent his whole life studying other cultures. As their ship landed, he turned to Admiral Clark. Susan, let me do the talking. These beings are afraid of us, and fear makes people do stupid things. The council chamber was enormous. It could hold 10,000 beings, and today it was full. Susan had never seen so many different types of life forms in one place. There were creatures that looked like living clouds, others that appeared to be made of metal, and some that seemed to shift and change shape as she watched. At the center of the chamber sat 12 beings at a curved desk. These were the council members, one from each major species in the Alliance. Elder Zefka was there, but he would not look at the humans when they entered. The council leader was a being that looked like a giant butterfly with 6 wings that shimmered like oil on water. When it spoke, its voice filled the entire chamber without being loud. Humans of Earth, it said, you stand accused of being a death world species. The evidence shows that your planet has a death rate impossible for any normal civilization. We must determine if you are safe to be part of galactic society. Ryan stepped forward. Honored council members, we come here in peace. We don't understand why our mortality statistics would make us dangerous. A crystalline being at the council desk spoke next. Its voice sounded like breaking glass. You claim to have 200 billion deaths but only 12 billion living beings. This suggests either that you are immortal beings who die and return to life repeatedly, or that you spread death to other worlds. Susan felt her heart sink. She could see the fear in the eyes of every being in the chamber. To them, humans looked like harbingers of doom. Another council member, this one looking like a walking tree covered in golden leaves, leaned forward. Our scientists have calculated that for your numbers to be correct, either your people must die and resurrect constantly, or you must have killed the populations of at least 15 other worlds. The chamber filled with worried sounds from the audience. Susan could hear clicking, buzzing, and musical tones that she guessed were expressions of fear or anger in different alien languages. Ryan raised his hands for quiet. Honored beings, there is a misunderstanding here. We are not immortal, and we have never harmed another world. Earth is the only planet humans have ever lived on. Then explain your death numbers, demanded the butterfly being. No civilization in galactic history has ever recorded more deaths than population. It is impossible unless you are spreading death across multiple worlds or unless you are some form of undead species. Dr. Amanda Foster, who had come with them as Earth's expert on cultures, asked permission to speak. She was a small woman with kind eyes who had spent her life studying how different groups of people lived. "May I ask a question?" she said politely. The council leader nodded. "How long do your people typically live?" Elder Zefka finally looked at the humans. "Zephyrians live an average of 800 years. Why do you ask?" Dr. Foster looked around the chamber. "And the others?" The crystalline being answered. "We Nexari exist for 1,200 years on average." The tree-like being added. "My people, the Silvani, live for 1,000 years. A small, furry creature that looked like a cross between a bear and an owl spoke up. "Even we Corvani, who are considered short-lived, live for 300 years. Dr. Foster nodded slowly. Susan could see that the doctor was beginning to understand something important. "I see," Dr. Foster said quietly. "This explains everything." The butterfly leader's wings fluttered with what seemed like impatience. "Explains what? How does this change the fact that your species has an impossible death count?" Dr. Foster looked directly at Elder Zefka. "How long do humans live?" Ryan answered, for her. "The average human lifespan is 85 years. The entire chamber went silent. Susan could hear her own breathing and the soft hum of the building's systems. Every alien eye was staring at the three humans. The crystalline being made a sound, like wind through a cave. 85 years, that's nothing. That's barely enough time to learn to speak properly." Dr. Foster smiled sadly. "Now you begin to understand. Humans don't live for centuries. We live for decades. A human generation lasts about 25 years. In the time one of you lives a full life, humans experience 30 to 40 generations." Elder Zefka's silver face showed complete shock. "You mean you die of old age, all of you?" "Yes," Susan said simply. "We all die, usually before we reach 100 years old." The chamber erupted in sounds of amazement, confusion, and what Susan hoped was sympathy rather than disgust. The council members looked at each other with expressions she couldn't read. The butterfly leader raised one wing for silence. This changes things. We need time to discuss this new information. The council will meet privately and decide how to proceed." As the humans were led out of the chamber, Susan heard thousands of alien voices discussing what they had just learned. She hoped that understanding would replace fear, but she wasn't sure. Being different had always been dangerous, even among humans. Among aliens, it might be deadly. The next morning, Dr. Amanda Foster stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber. The room was quieter than the day before, but she could feel thousands of alien eyes watching her every move. The council had agreed to give her one chance, to explain humanity before they made their final decision about Earth's fate. Admiral Susan Clark sat in the front row next to Colonel Danny Miller, Earth's military officer. Danny was a big man with scars on his hands from years of military service. He looked nervous, which made Susan even more worried. "Honored council members," Dr. Foster began, "yesterday you learned that humans live much shorter lives than your species. Today I want to help you understand what this really means." The Butterfly Council leader spread its wings slightly. "Proceed, human. But remember, we must decide if your species is safe for the galaxy." Dr. Foster walked to a large screen. that had been set up for her presentation. Let me start with a simple comparison. Elder Zefka, you said your people live 800 years on average. In human terms, that would be like living through 32 of our generations. She pressed a button, and the screen showed a timeline. Imagine if you could meet your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren and their great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, all the way down for 32 generations. That's what 800 years means to us. A small murmur went through the audience. Some aliens were starting to look interested instead of afraid. Now, Dr. Foster continued, let me show you what humans have accomplished in just the past 100 years. The screen changed to show pictures from Earth's history. 100 years ago, most humans could not fly. We had just invented machines that could barely stay in the air for a few minutes. The screen showed an old airplane that looked like it was made of wood and cloth. Colonel Danny Miller watched as the aliens leaned forward in their seats. Some of them were making soft sounds of surprise. 50 years later, Dr. Foster said, humans were flying to the moon. The screen showed a rocket ship blasting off from Earth. And 50 years after that, we built the ship that brought us here, to meet you. The crystalline council member made a sound like bells ringing. Wait, you went from not being able to fly to traveling between stars in only 100 years? Yes, Dr. Foster said simply. Because we don't have time to go slowly. She changed the screen again. 100 years ago, it took weeks for a message to travel across our planet. Now, every human on Earth can talk to any other human instantly. The tree-like council member rustled its golden leaves. This is impossible. It took my people 3,000 years to develop instant communication across our world. Dr. Foster smiled. That's because your people had 3,000 years. Humans who start a project know they might not live to see it finished. So we work faster. Admiral Clark watched the aliens' faces changing. The fear was being replaced by something else. Curiosity, maybe. Or amazement. Let me show you something else, Dr. Foster said. The screen now showed pictures of human cities. These are our cities today, but 100 years ago, most of these places were empty fields or small towns. She clicked to the next image. This is New York City 100 years ago. The screen showed a city with small buildings and dirt roads. And this is New York City today. Now the screen showed a city of glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Elder Zefka stood up slowly. You built all of this in 100 years? Yes. Because every generation of humans knows they only have about 60 years of working life. They can't wait for the perfect solution. They have to build something now. Colonel Miller felt proud, listening to Dr. Foster explain his species. He had never thought about humanity this way before. Dr. Foster brought up another image. This is our medical technology. 100 years ago, a simple cut could kill a human. Today we can replace hearts, cure diseases that once killed millions, and help people live longer than ever before. The furry, owl-like council member spoke up. But surely this rapid development comes at a cost. You must sacrifice quality for speed. Dr. Foster nodded. Sometimes, yes. Human solutions are often temporary. We build things knowing they won't last forever, because we won't last forever either. But this isn't weakness, it's strength. She walked closer to the council desk. Your species build things to last for thousands of years because you have thousands of years to use them. Humans build things to work right now, when we need them, because right now is all we have. The screen changed to show graphs and numbers. In the past 50 years, humans have invented computers, traveled to other planets, learned to change our own genetics, and created art and music and literature that fills billions of books and songs. Admiral Clark saw several aliens turn to each other and start whispering in their strange languages. We do all of this, Dr. Foster continued, not because we are special or magical, but because we have to. Every human knows that their time is limited. We don't put off dreams until tomorrow because tomorrow might not come. The butterfly leader's wings were trembling slightly. This is remarkable, but it still doesn't explain your death numbers. Dr. Foster smiled sadly. Actually, it explains everything. You see, humans don't just live short lives. We live overlapping lives. Right now, on Earth, There are people who were born 90 years ago living alongside people who were born yesterday. She showed a new image on the screen. In any human city, you will find people from 4 or 5 different generations all living at the same time. The very old, the middle-aged, the young, and children. As the oldest die, new children are born. Colonel Miller watched as understanding began to dawn on alien faces throughout the chamber. Over the past 6,000 years, Dr. Foster said, Earth has been home to about 200 generations of humans. Each generation lived, worked, built things, had children, and then died to make room for the next generation. That's why our death count is so high. Not because we are cursed or dangerous, but because we are successful. The chamber was completely silent now. Dr. Foster looked directly at each council member. Every name in our memorial database represents a human who lived a full life in the short time they were given. They are not victims of some terrible curse. They are proof that even short lives can be meaningful lives. Elder Zefka sat down heavily. So your high death toll is actually a sign of a successful civilization? Yes, Dr. Foster said quietly. It means we have been living and dying and making room for new life for thousands of years. It means we have never given up. After Dr. Foster's presentation, the council chamber buzzed with alien voices speaking in dozens of different languages. Admiral Susan Clark could see that the mood had changed. The fear was mostly gone, replaced by curiosity and something that might have been respect. The Butterfly Council leader raised one wing for silence. Dr. Foster, your explanation is fascinating, but understanding your nature is not the same as trusting your species. We need proof that humans can be valuable members of galactic civilization. A new voice spoke from the back of the council area. It was sharp and clicking, like insects talking. I am Hive Queen Zix-9 of the Cathara. My people live 300 years, which makes us short-lived compared to most here. But even we think humans are too quick to act, too willing to take risks. She moved forward on 6 legs, her shiny black shell reflecting the chamber's lights. If humans are to join us, they must prove they can solve problems that require wisdom, not just speed. Elder Zefka looked interested. What do you propose, Hive Queen? There is a problem that has challenged the Alliance for 50 years, Zix-9 clicked. Research Station Omega-9 orbits a dying star. The star is collapsing and its gravity is pulling the station toward destruction. 300 scientists from 12 different species are trapped there. Colonel Danny Miller felt his pulse quicken. This sounded like a military problem, and he had been waiting for a chance to show what humans could do. Hive Queen Zix-9 continued. We have sent our best minds to solve this problem. They have worked for decades to find a safe, permanent solution. All have failed. The station will be destroyed in 36 hours. The Crystalline Council member chimed in. We cannot simply evacuate the scientists. The station contains research data that represents 200 years of work. If it is lost, our understanding of stellar physics will be set back by centuries. Commander Alex Thompson, who had been quietly listening from the human delegation, stepped forward. May I ask what solutions have been tried? The tree-like council member rustled its leaves. Our engineers designed a massive gravitational anchor that would hold the station in place, but it would take 12 years to build and position correctly. Our energy specialist proposed using controlled fusion explosions to push the station away, added another alien. But the calculations show it would take 8 years to generate enough power safely. My people suggested building a new station and carefully moving all the research over several decades, said a floating cloud-like being. But there isn't enough time. Commander Thompson looked at Colonel Miller, then at Admiral Clark. Admiral, request permission to attempt a rescue. The chamber went quiet. Hive Queen Zix-9's compound eyes focused on the human. You think you can solve in hours what our greatest minds couldn't solve in decades? I don't know, Thompson said, honestly. But I'd like to try. Elder Zefka leaned forward. This could be dangerous. If you fail, those scientists will die. If we do nothing, they'll die anyway. Thompson replied. At least this way they have a chance. The butterfly leader's wings fluttered with what seemed like nervousness. Very well, but you will work with a team of our best experts. This will be a joint effort. 6 hours later, Commander Thompson found himself on a fast ship heading toward the dying star with the strangest crew he had ever worked with. His human team included pilot Rachel White, a calm woman who could fly anything with engines, engineer Tim Rodriguez, who could fix or build almost any machine, and medic Nicole Brown, who had saved more lives than she could count. The alien team included a Zephyrian navigation expert, a Nexari energy specialist, a Silvani life support engineer, and a Cathera tactical analyst. They were all brilliant, but Thompson quickly noticed something interesting. "How long have you been working on this problem?" he asked the Zephyrian navigator as they studied the station's position. "I have devoted 47 years to understanding this gravitational anomaly," the alien replied proudly. Thompson looked at the data for 5 minutes, then turned to Tim Rodriguez. "Tim, what if we don't try to fight the gravity? What if we use it?" Tim studied the numbers quickly. "You mean like a slingshot effect? Use the star's pull to accelerate the station and fling it away?" "Exactly, but it would have to be perfectly timed." The Nexari energy specialist made a sound like breaking crystal. "Impossible. The calculations alone would take months. And if you're wrong by even a small amount, the station will be torn apart." Rachel White looked up from the pilot controls. "How long do we have?" 18 hours, Thompson said. The alien. Experts all began speaking at once in their various languages, and Thompson could tell they were upset. Finally, the Zephyrian navigator spoke for them all. "Commander, this is exactly why your species concerns us. You want to attempt something incredibly dangerous with almost no preparation time. In 47 years of study, I have learned that this type of gravitational maneuver requires perfect precision." Thompson nodded. "You're right. It does require perfect precision, but it doesn't require 47 years of study. It requires 47 years worth of knowledge applied in 18 hours. He turned to his human team. "Rachel, how long to calculate a slingshot trajectory?" "Give me 3 hours with Tim helping on the physics," she said. "Tim, how long to rig controlled explosions to break the station free at exactly the right moment?" 4 hours if Nicole helps with the life support modifications. "Nicole, how long to set up emergency medical stations in case people get hurt during the acceleration?" 2 hours, 3 to be safe, Nicole replied. Thompson looked back at the alien experts who were staring at the humans with amazement. "That's 9 hours of work. We'll have 9 hours left over to double-check everything and make adjustments." The Kithera tactical analyst clicked rapidly. "You're planning to do in 18 hours what we said couldn't be done in months." "No," Thompson said with a smile. "We're planning to do in 18 hours what you've been preparing for decades. You've done all the hard work already. You understand the physics, the engineering, the medical challenges. You just never put it all together for a fast temporary solution." The Silvani engineer's golden leaves shimmered. "But what if it fails? What if your quick solution doesn't work?" Rachel White was already starting her calculations. "Then those scientists die tomorrow instead of today. But if it works, they live to see next week. Sometimes next week is all you can ask for." Tim Rodriguez was pulling apart control panels with practiced efficiency. "Besides, we don't build things to last forever. We build them to work when we need them to work." "Commander." Thompson watched his team spring into action with the speed and efficiency that came from knowing time was always running out. The alien experts slowly began to help, their centuries of knowledge combining with human urgency. For the first time since arriving at Haven Prime, Thompson felt confident. This was what humans did best. They took impossible situations and made them possible, not through perfect solutions but through good enough solutions applied at exactly the right moment. The real test was just beginning. 16 hours later, Commander Alex Thompson watched through the ship's window as Research Station Omega-9 came into view. The station was huge, built like a giant metal flower with 6 arms reaching out from a central hub. But it was tilting, badly, pulled toward the angry red star that filled half the sky. The star was dying, collapsing in on itself, and its gravity was like a giant hand dragging everything toward destruction. "Station is responding to our signals," reported Rachel White from the pilot's seat. Her voice was steady, but Thompson could see sweat on her forehead. 300 scientists on board, all ready for evacuation. Tim Rodriguez looked up from his control panel, his hands covered in grease from working on the explosive charges all night. "Charges are set and ready. We'll have exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds to get everyone off the station before the slingshot maneuver." Dr. Nicole Brown checked her medical equipment one more time. "Emergency medical stations are ready on all evacuation ships. If anyone gets hurt during the acceleration, we can help them." The alien experts had worked alongside the humans all night, and Thompson could see the amazement in their eyes. The Zephyrian navigator had calculated trajectories that would have taken his people months to figure out. The Nexari energy specialist had helped Tim design explosive charges that were perfectly timed. The Sylvani engineer had modified life support systems in hours instead of years. "Commander," said the Kythera tactical analyst, "I must admit your species approaches problems in ways we never considered. You don't seek perfect solutions, you seek working solutions." Thompson smiled tiredly. "Perfect is the enemy of good enough. And good enough right now is better than perfect too late." The Zephyrian navigator spoke from his station. "All calculations are complete. If the explosion timing is off by more than 0.3 seconds, the station will be torn apart. Are you certain about this?" Rachel White was already starting the evacuation sequence. "We're never certain about anything. We just do our best and hope it works." The next 14 minutes were the longest of Thompson's life. Ship after ship docked with the research station, loading scientists as quickly as possible. The alien researchers had spent decades on their work, and many were reluctant to leave their equipment behind. "You have to go now," Nicole Brown shouted into her communicator as she helped the last group of scientists onto an evacuation ship. "The station won't survive what we're about to do." With 30 seconds to spare, the last ship pulled away from the station. Thompson took a deep breath and looked at Tim Rodriguez. "You ready?" "As ready as anyone can be for controlled insanity," Tim replied, his finger hovering over the detonation button. "Do it," Thompson said. The explosion was beautiful and terrifying. Bright flashes of light erupted from strategic points all around, the station breaking the metal structure free from the star's gravitational anchor points. For a moment, the station hung motionless in space. Then the star's gravity grabbed it and flung it away like a stone from a slingshot. The station spun and tumbled as it accelerated, moving faster and faster until it was just a glowing dot racing away from the dying star. "It worked," whispered the Nexari energy specialist. By the crystal depths, it actually worked. Rachel White was already plotting their course back to Haven Prime. "Station is clear of the gravity well and on a stable trajectory. All evacuation ships report no casualties." The journey back to Haven Prime took 3 days. When they arrived, the entire Galactic Council was waiting for them, along with thousands of other beings who had heard about the rescue. The council chamber was packed beyond capacity. Admiral Susan Clark stood before the council with her human delegation, but now she felt different. Proud. Confident. Elder Zeph Ka rose from his seat, his silver face showing something Thompson had never seen before: respect. "Humans of Earth, you have accomplished something remarkable. You solved in 18 hours a problem that had challenged our greatest minds for 50 years. The Butterfly Council leader spread its wings wide. "We have watched your species work, and we have learned something important. Your short lives are not a weakness. They are a strength that our galaxy has never seen before." Hive Queen Zix-9 clicked forward on her 6 legs. "My people withdraw all objections to human membership in the Alliance. You have shown us that rapid action guided by wisdom can achieve what careful planning alone cannot." Dr. Amanda Foster stepped forward. "Honored council members, we would be grateful to join your alliance, but we want you to understand something important about humans." She paused and looked around the chamber. We don't just solve problems quickly because we have to. We solve them quickly because we want to. Every human knows that life is short, so we try to make every day count. We take risks because playing it safe means missing opportunities. The Crystalline Council member chimed softly. Dr. Foster, would your people be willing to share this approach with us? Many of our species have challenges that have gone unsolved for centuries because we always seek perfect solutions. Commander Thompson grinned. We'd be happy to help. But I should warn you, working with humans means accepting that some solutions are temporary, some plans change in the middle, and sometimes the best answer is to try something and see what happens. Admiral Clark felt pride swell in her chest as she watched the alien faces around the chamber. They were no longer afraid. They were excited. The Butterfly Leader made its official announcement. By unanimous vote of the Galactic Council, humanity is granted full membership in the Alliance. Furthermore, we propose creating a new Rapid Response Division, led by human commanders to handle crises that require immediate action. Elder Zeph Ka stood again. Captain Jake Martinez, would you accept command of this new division? Jake, who had been quietly watching from the audience, looked stunned. Yes, I would be honored. Dr. Foster walked to the center of the chamber, holding the memorial crystal that had started everything. This crystal contains the names of 800 million beings who lived long, peaceful lives. Earth's memorial contains 200 billion names of beings who lived short, intense lives. She held the crystal up so everyone could see it. Both are beautiful. Both represent successful civilizations. The difference is that your people have the luxury of time, while my people have the urgency of mortality. The chamber erupted in sounds of agreement from dozens of different species. Today, Dr. Foster continued, we've learned that the galaxy needs both approaches. Sometimes you need the patience to work on a problem for centuries. Sometimes you need the courage to solve it in hours. As the ceremony ended and the aliens began to mingle with the humans, Admiral Clark realized that humanity had found its place in the galaxy not despite their short lives, but because of them. Earth's greatest weakness had become its greatest gift. The galaxy would never be the same.